Hey guys, it's me Manisha and welcome back to the channel. Today... One second. Huh. Looks like I got mail. So a lot of you are probably familiar with popular game dev YouTuber, Miziziziz, and most likely discovered me from the Game Jam video I was in back in October. In case you aren't, he creates a great variety of game devlogs, tutorials, and of course hosts the well-known 4 Game Devs Jam Off the Same Art Kit series. So when I received an invite, you have to believe me when I say I was shocked. Just to recap the rules of the jam, we would have 48 hours of non-consecutive game dev time. We're allowed to use any copyright-free music, sound effects, and fonts, and our only restriction was that we must use the provided art pack to make our game. A couple weeks later, I received the art pack. It was Kenney's 3D space kit. I think I could work with this. The last time my sister and I made a 3D game, I ended up doing a majority of it. Don't tell her that. So compared to a 2D art pack, I had more confidence that I could pull this off and make it look pretty decent by myself. And what? Blackthorn Prod and Zyger would be jamming off this art kit with me? The game dev gods are really blessing me over here. But that also meant there was pressure for me to keep up with everyone. Regardless, I was gonna give it my best shot. Looking at the art pack, there were about 100 different models. That made me really excited to use as many models as I could. An exploration game sounds pretty fun. Whoa. An exploration game is pretty risky for a jam game. So I thought about it and realized that there were 2 approaches that I could take for this type of game jam. I could either use the art pack in the best way possible, or spend more time on gameplay without having to worry about art. And considering my past experience, it's always been easier for me to come up with an atmosphere rather than a quick gameplay mechanic. So I decided this would be the perfect opportunity to showcase my skills. I started by placing random models into the scene, hoping to get inspired with simple tasks that the player could do around this alien planet. Since I knew this would be an immersive exploration game, the first thing I had to do was set up a first-person controller. I followed a quick tutorial on this, but I ignored most of the physics. The next step was to set up the area that the player starts at. I tried to take these small, rocky-type models to create some sort of border around the area. This actually worked well in enclosing the space. Oh right, this devlog's gonna spoil a lot of the game, so if you want to play it before you watch the devlog, you can check it out on my itch page. Alright, so by now it seemed realistic that I could implement at least 5 objectives for the game, as long as I kept programming intuitive and didn't challenge myself too much in that aspect. I could always come back and build on these objectives, given time. When I saw the rover model, I knew that it would be a good first task for it to move around and have the player chase it. To do this, I created nodes on the ground, and made the rover move between them randomly. This was an okay implementation, but looking back on it, it was pretty easy for the player to just intercept the path and wait for the rover to come to them. Something like speeding up the rover or changing direction when the player is near it would have created more of an unpredictable behavior. Even something like using a busier curve would have created a more challenging path. The main mechanic of this game, if you could call it that, is basically an interaction system. So I created a player interaction script that would handle anything that the player's raycast would hit. I also made a mission manager to track the progress of the game. I definitely went too crazy with booleans here. The satellite area was definitely not my favorite, but I do like that it encouraged some sort of exploration. I think hiding the satellites better and getting some more elevation in this level would have really amped up the experience here. Even before I built the satellite area, I was so intimidated by how much empty space there was. I was really worried about whether I'd even be able to fill up this world. But I took a step back and remembered that big things are made of smaller steps. So just like I made the first area, I would do the rest of the areas in the same way, by bordering the area and enclosing the space. This also made me think that reaching the objective should open up the next area, kinda like an escape room. The next area was gonna be a rocket launching pad. After looking at a couple reference pictures, I had an idea of what this area should look like. The objective here was to find the hammer, break the wall, and enter the next area. Something I found that was really unsatisfying in this level was hitting the wall with the hammer. It was only the words that said press E to break wall. There was no swinging motion, there was no progress of the wall breaking, it just disappears. It definitely needed something here, whether it be sound or animation. The next area is an office space. The objective here was just to find a password to open a gate. I wish there was more of a puzzle aspect here, maybe actually reading a paper and solving something before entering it as the password. Alright, now we're gonna craft this beautiful statue that every alien planet needs. Wait. Oh, thank you. Alright, back to it. The artifact area was probably my favorite. The original idea here was to just have a security camera moving side to side so that the player could just slip into the artifact building, but instead I kept that camera static and added a vent on the side covered in smoke so that the player could secretly enter the building. I'm really glad that I was able to implement the lever puzzle here, because originally I just had one lever that the player would have to pull. The lever puzzle was simple. There's an order that you need to pull the levers in, hinted by some colors at the top of the wall. Here I just added to a list and constantly checked to see if the order of the list matched the correct combo that I defined. The maze area was definitely a last-minute idea. I was just playing around with the pipes and it was really fun to run through them. I actually wanted them to go underground so that you couldn't tell where the pipes were getting entangled, but I couldn't figure that out fast enough, and my mentality for this entire jam was to keep things simple to implement. And that's pretty much it for world building. I was actually debating between having dialogue and cutscenes. To be honest, I kinda wanted both in the beginning, but I knew that was super unrealistic, and since I'm not much of a writer, I decided to do cutscenes. Cutscenes would be a great way to highlight the objective in the game as well. I had been playing around with Cinemachine recently, and it's pretty crazy how easy it is to set up and get things working. I usually just had to set up a virtual camera, animate the camera, and then create a timeline to let it transition from the cutscene back to the first-person player view. I've done animations and state machines a lot, so creating these for each objective was pretty easy and fast for me. I tried to give most objects that were interactable some sort of animation feedback, and then I would just repeat this process for every cutscene. I grabbed some copyright-free Western music, as well as some sci-fi sound effects from Kenney. A lot of the sound effects were done in a pretty hacky way. I just added it to the animation and activated it at the right time, instead of doing it through script. I also found a sci-fi texture and a sandy texture to make the world a little bit more interesting. I didn't really have time to go look for textures again after that. Also, I'm not sure if we were allowed to use pre-made particle effects, but I found this one that looked really good with the 3D low poly look of the assets. I think this pack actually inspired me to do the explosion cutscene at the end of the game. There were only two types of ways to get game over in Space Slink. The first was a simple security camera that would move side to side. I would then create a prefab and place it all over the world. I definitely wanted astronaut enemies placed around some levels, but I couldn't figure out what their behavior should be. Should they chase you? Should they shoot at you? I don't know. I then settled for a quick route that they would follow, and just gave them a vision code similar to the previous 3D game I did. I followed a quick 5-minute tutorial to implement this, and I don't really remember why or how I did things I had to do. I definitely need to go back and relearn all this nav mesh and baking stuff. Overall, I wasn't really happy with the enemies, since they were quite unpredictable, and getting caught in the vision cone would make the player start all over again. But I think the combination of security cameras and astronaut enemies were good enough to bring stealth to the game, which is what I'm going for. Okay, looks like we're done enemies. Alright, it's been about 40 hours and I can probably play this game with my eyes closed. I think we need to do some quick playtesting. I've gathered a few of my trusty friends to give me some valuable feedback while one of them streams it. Let's go.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Go, 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 go. I'm so scared for you. Okay, okay.
I think this is gonna give sharing nightmare. What just happened? What did I do? Did I just win?
I was. Wait, did he just clip through the wall? Did you just clip through the wall?
I did.
Oh my.
Oh, come on, that. Oh, wait, that's actually like.
Manisha seems way too happy watching Rushel struggle. This makes me believe she's actually a devil.
Why do I have to press this button?
Cause shut the f up, that's why.
No, you.
Whoa. Oh my
Wait, did I
god.
win? Did I?
Oh man,
okay.
I love that animation.
Okay, remind me to ban speedrunning next time. Regardless, this was a really good opportunity to get some quick feedback. It looks like a bunch of colliders and perimeters were missing, so I was able to quickly put those in. It was also pretty difficult to see when the objective changed. To improve this, I added a sound effect and a flash to the text. That looks a lot better. Some of the objectives were also a bit vague, and the last thing I wanted was the player to get stuck in the game and give up. To quickly improve this, I made the objective a little bit more detailed, in hopes of guiding the player. The game also started with the player just spawning and not even knowing what to do, which reminded me that I wanted to do an intro cinematic. I really didn't have time though, so I settled for a text intro. Just like I thought, the enemies were a bit unbalanced, and I really didn't have time to change that. Last but not least, I needed a game name. I came up with Space Sneak, but it didn't seem creative enough. The last thing I did with my leftover time was to clutter the world a bit more, because empty space was very apparent. So I completed the fixes and wrapped up the game. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how the game came out, and I think I really did give it my best shot at the time. The framework for a potential game was there, but I think it was just missing some more substance. That was pretty much it for the game jam, and I had a blast playing everyone else's games. Now for some post-jam changes. Blackthorn Prod left some great advice to boost the aesthetic value of my game.
Very easy and very quick ways to add life to an environment.
Let's give it a try. The only kind of post-processing that I did was color correcting, which didn't do too much, but it did bring the colors out a bit more. So Noah suggested that I add a vignette and some more bloom to the game. I haven't worked too much with post-processing, which is why I avoided it for the game jam, because I was afraid that I would fall into a black hole of making things look pretty, which could be pretty time-consuming for me. Oh wow, adding bloom really made it look like a whole different world. Check it out. It's crazy how much bloom made a difference in bringing life to this world. Now this is the kind of alien planet I would want to explore. I'm really thankful for the feedback Noah left me, otherwise I wouldn't have even tried something like this. It really shows how powerful of a tool feedback is, especially from people of different experiences and backgrounds. Definitely let me know if you have any suggestions for the game. So remember how I said that I ended up implementing a text intro instead of a cutscene? Why don't we try making that right now? So to do this, I added 3 virtual cameras, each at a different area, and created a timeline where I added them all. Super simple to do and very effective. Overall, I think the cutscenes really brought a lot of polish to the game. In fact, it might have even covered some of its weak spots. What a pleasure it was to be part of the 4 game developers jam off the same ArtKit jam. It was really a humbling and memorable experience. So thank you Miziziziz for inviting me, and Zyger and Blackthorn Prod for jamming off with me. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this devlog / postmortem. If you did, be sure to subscribe, like, and I always love reading comments. See you next time!